Good afternoon, traders. This is Christian from Hertz Tribeca Trade Group, and it is the 15th of the month, and we are halfway through the month officially. Pretty awesome day in terms of market performance. Risk disclaimer in front of you: everything that we're going through is for information purposes only, not giving out any advice or recommendations. Also, if the screen is a bit blurry, it's just because YouTube has not rendered the high def version. Just close the video and wait half hour or an hour. I also tweet out this screenshot so you can follow along that way. Let's do a quick rundown of the performance. SPY up 1.1% for the day. Q's very, very strong, up 1.5%. And if you notice to the left here, the percentage change from open, not only did they kind of gap up, especially the Qs, but we saw a little bit of kind of add-on through the session in the major indices. IWM was again seems to be the misfit child right now. Finished up 40 basis points, so green, that's good. But was kind of struggling a little bit. At one point was negative on the day, but I think the market was just so strong today that it held in nicely. And then there was really what was also particularly interesting was the move in bonds today. Big move in the TLT today, up 1.7%. And then gold, silver, which is a odd odd to see them participate too with everything else. So you had you had bonds, gold, silver. I think Ethereum was up decently today too. So you can add in the cryptos. Maybe I should probably put Ethereum at this point in my spreadsheet. But yeah, up 7%, up to 2,500. So I'm not looking at my crypto account. Just kind of I have a small portion in the cryptos, and I've kind of just been ignoring and forgetting about it because it's a position that I don't want to over manage or micromanage. So anyway, everything basically up across the board in terms of the major asset classes. The VIX was down 3% today. Where is the VIX? 1657. And you had some different areas of the market participate again to the upside. And doesn't it feel like it's just a different group almost every day? Yesterday we saw what was it? We saw steel names, we saw metals and mining really outperform. Some of those groups carried forward to today. I did trade a couple of those things, but I think what's been going on here, and this could change, but it literally, you're not really seeing too much follow through from one day to another, and that would be the only thing to kind of really complain about in this market is that, if you see the FANG stocks outperform one day, the next day they kind of cool off a little bit and materials outperform. And then the materials outperform the one day, and then the next day they rest or they're down slightly, and then it's like today it's healthcare. It was very strong. So from what just a plain observation is, you're really not seeing too much of that carry forward day to day for most stocks in relation to what is happening in the sectors. But if you're patient and you can kind of realize that some of these things have strength and kind of stay in them and be flexible and kind of add to them when they cool off a little bit, it seems like it's just a rolling bull market. These names are coming back pretty decently when they do come back. So let's talk about some of those big movers. The medical device. So first of all, let's go over the indices, and then I'll get into the sectors. I always jump ahead here, but S&P. I mean, this was a welcome surprise. I thought that we might have some cracks the way that we finished for the day because we got kind of back below the moving averages, but we kind of turned this around in the overnight session and moved up. So, I made reference to this 1 hour chart yesterday where we've seen some cracks before over the last couple weeks, and we just came right back. If we look, so what's the RSI at this point? I hate doing this every day because, we're just kind of watching the market get a little bit more and more overbought. We're at a 74 RSI, so we are overbought. Tomorrow's option expiration, I don't know if that cools us off a little bit. I don't know if, I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know if the rest of the month is going to be kind of cool off. But, what I'm doing in my trading is basically saying, hey, these types of things are really nice gifts to my account, and I'm really trying to be responsible and kind of sell into the strength. Now, again, I'm not closing out of all my positions because there's no sell signal, but it's getting pretty darn frothy, right? Um, with these moves that are taking place in the indices, and I do have a hedge on. I put on a hedge yesterday. I was able to take a target in the trade that I put on where I'm selling some upside premium. I actually put it back on this morning. I actually wish I would have put it on at the end of the day, but I said that I would put back the target that I took in that hedge trade, for the end of the month, and so I've got a little bit of protection on in case we do at some point dip a little bit, so I'm really kind of speculating on that. We don't have any type of sell signal. I'm just kind of feeling it, and it also kind of ends up being a little bit of a blanket for me in terms of, hey, if I still want to be adding a position here or two, that looks pretty good. This way, I have a little bit of downside, downside hedge. All right, so that's how I'm kind of positioning with this, and I get questions about that all the time. What do you think to do here? How do you position? It requires a little bit of feel and a little bit of experience, and realize that, hey, on my hedge, if it doesn't work, I'm giving back something. But I just feel like we're decently extended here. We have seen these swings go on before, right? For a while, you could just look back at the SPY chart or S&P futures chart is what I have, and sometimes these things do last quite a bit. This was back in, remember back in June. This went all the way up for 3 months, right, without really breaking trend, right? So this was June, July, August, and then we finally got to the end of August, and then we had a little bit of a correction. So, I don't know where exactly we are in this stage other than overbought, and getting a little bit more overbought every day. So that's the best I can kind of say for now. But we don't have none of us have a crystal ball and know exactly when the trend is going to stop. The Q is impressive. They were up 1.5%. That's a new high look at that. New high for the Qs, right? All-time high for the Qs, just like that, in a matter of a couple weeks. Right back there. IWM, like I said, is a little bit of a wild card right now. Again, had a big move, obviously, towards the end of last year. To me, it looks like this is in digestion mode. So let me go through a couple sectors. Healthcare. Right? I thought this had a chance to get going. This is actually in our TTG watch list trade where I pick some names over the weekend and I go into them. And I've been kind of changing that strategy around a little bit where I've got more ETFs in there. And, I thought XLV looked like it was trying to rev up here. And big day, I think that was helped by United Healthcare and the managed group space. United Healthcare is up 3.8%, so really nice. And it does tell you again that names like United Healthcare, that's a big day for it on earnings. United Healthcare does not usually move that much on earnings. So if you look at the performance of United Healthcare, today was up 3.8%. Last 3 quarters it has not done that. Now these have been COVID situations. But it used to perform pretty well, on earnings. So perhaps that has something to do with it. But very strong for the group. There's a couple names that look pretty interesting. This is HCA Healthcare. This looks like it's trying to break out. CVS. I had a few traders talk about this one today. This looks like it might be, because remember, CVS is also Aetna, right? But this space is hot. Right, Humana, right, another name. So, again, it's a different type of market than what we saw in 2020. Look at this name, up 2.6%. And you can make some nice money in options in this thing because they're not expensive options. Let's go back to the performance just for a minute, and then I'll talk about my trades. But yeah, you had the medical. I didn't talk about medical devices, but they've been. Look at the medical devices. They were really acting pretty slow for a bit in here. And I remember somebody asked me about IHI about 2 weeks ago, and I said, well, it looks good. It's just a slow mover. It was not a slow mover today, up 2.2%. really strong. Like ISRG was strong. Um, and just a number of names within this. Medtronic has been strong. That broke out. I was in Medtronic. I took it off on this green bar. I was happy with it, but sometimes again, it's good to leave a trailer on. Medtronic very strong. And what else in this space? We talked about INMD about a week ago, but if we look at the movers in this one. Yeah, NVCR, Tandem was up, PODD. So again, a lot of the space. TMO has been very. How could I forget TMO? I know there's a bunch of traders who have been trading this one since this move right around the 200-day moving average. So that's a really nice move. And then still with some of the materials from yesterday. Utilities were strong. They were one of your best movers during the day again. So some of this stuff is what's known as low volatility, right? If you look at this low volatility ETF, I talked about this a couple weeks ago. Look at this thing go, right? So again, very easy to trade. I know everybody's still kind of looking at some of these super high growth names. That would be the one area of the market that's not participating, right? If you look at PBW, Clean Energy, right, down 3.9%. Somebody just asked me about this. Why is this group not participating? I don't know. Maybe it just went up a little bit too far last year. That's my guess. And the market just doesn't want to really. Some Caesar headlines, which I know we've been seeing some call buying in that name. But yeah, that's my guess is that these are very expensive names in terms of a valuation perspective, and they had such a run. So once you break the 50-day moving average, you really have to honor that. We talk a lot about that in the trading room, and a lot of times once you break that 50-day moving average, once you're in a strong trend, you have to honor the price, right? I always say this, that price is bigger than opinions, right? You can have the most confident person on Twitter, or somebody who's giving videos and giving out trade ideas, and they may sound great about how much conviction that they have, but I'll tell you, price is king, and trend too, because here's where this thing broke trend at 116, and it's been ugly since. It has not been able to kind of recoup. So I don't know when this thing stops, but we'll continue to monitor, right? And that's the same thing with the solar group. I keep looking at names like CSIQ and ENPH, and eventually I think they may end up being buying opportunities. But I want to make sure, I want some confirmation that these things are done going down first. So, and that's the same thing. I can go through about 10, 15 other really high growth names. Fubo is one that I know was a big name last year. It's not done going down yet, right? These are very expensive names, so you just kind of have to deal with it. Take it for what it is right now. That these things are weak, and let them go where they want to go to the downside. In my opinion, don't get in front of them, right? Don't try to stick out your neck and say that, oh, I really like this name because da 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 da. So and so said it on Twitter. Who cares? Price and I always try to talk about this in these videos about thinking independently, right? Having your own program and so forth. So here's a couple trades. Oh, sorry, I have to run. I have a conference call that I got to jump on. But here's some of the trades. FCX was a really nice one. VMware was a name that I was able to get out of. I've been holding that name for a couple weeks. Ripped today, so nice to get that one off the books. But yeah, I love this FCX breakout. I also like Brazil. I know Brazil's going through a lot of issues, but I tell you, the chart looks pretty good in Brazil, right? So price, I think, always leads. So maybe we'll eventually hear some good news, considering what the price action is in Brazil, right? It's also very much, Brazil has a lot of commodity exposure too, and the commodity groups are very strong, and I continue to like that particular group and some other groups. But you can see what I did here at the end of the day. I just took off a couple trades because I really want to be cognizant of the strength in this market and make sure that I'm taking off more at this point than putting on. I'm still watching the semis group. I did take a shot at Applied Materials here. No confirmation yet that this move down is done, but to me, coming into the 20-day moving average, I'm okay adding a little bit more if it goes down a little further, and then we'll see if this thing can bounce in here. All right, guys, that's it for today's video. Have a great night, and I'll see you tomorrow.